Welcome back to the Worthy for 30 podcast. I am your host, Eric Tash. With me today is Levels Protein founder, Blake Niemann. And the way I like to introduce Blake very quickly is what happens when a founder decides transparency and purpose matter more than shortcuts. You get a brand people actually trust. Blake Niemann, again, joins me today to break down the real playbook. Blake, welcome to the Worthy for 30 podcast.
Appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So when you and I were connected, you mentioned that Levels Protein started from your apartment in Jersey City. Take us back to that time when you started the brand, and what was that inflection point for you to start a supplements brand?
Sure. Yes. Um, at that time, you know, I was trying to figure out really where to make my mark kind of in the world, in business has kind of been, I don't know, been kind of a hustler, if you will, for lack of a better way to say it, since I was a young kid. So I was trying to build and make things. And so in 2016, when I founded it, yeah, a lot of what was going on in organic foods and beverages, I thought was going to translate into supplements. And what was going on at that time is mainstream retailers, including even Costco, which is usually a big sign, we're bringing in a lot more organics to their sets. And I basically said, like, man, I'm pretty sure like this is going to happen in supplements. And I was always a computer nerd, but that went to the gym, and so I was consuming protein powder. And I had a full time job, and I was trying to figure out what I was going to do. And I looked at the category, and whey protein has always been, for lack of a better way of saying it, the king of the sports nutrition category. It's the most tried and true. It was the biggest. But at the time, it was super sleepy because in supplements, everyone in supplements, and you'll notice it even today, loves to chase some shiny new object. So every brand has to create something new. So if something's hot, like colostrum, like everyone's like, oh, we got to make a colostrum. So at the time, I guess everyone's eyes were in a different place in supplements, but whey protein was this like facade of black canisters and neons and bro meathead and broette culture and ice creams and candies and artificials. And it was just a sea of sameness, like pharmaceutical type looking products. And I said, hey, what's going on in natural food and beverages? Like, this is what whey protein would look like if that started to translate over to it. And, I designed a product not only on the product packaging to tell the consumer something instantaneously, because that's the most important part of your product. Actually, second most important is how good your product is inside, but you got to get them inside first. So, and then I was like, I'm going to make this look like dairy. And I'm going to put absolutely no artificials in it. I'm not even going to put natural ingredients that sound artificial in it. So, for example, xanthan gum or even like guar gum. Guar gum is natural, but the American consumer kind of looks at that, and even I do, and like, yeah, that sounds like from Planet Guar or whatever. So it's like, it doesn't work well.
Yeah.
Whereas when you see like vanilla extract, that's like tried and true ingredient, be like, I know what I had that in my old fashioned ice cream back in the day.
Mm-hmm.
So that was sort of the mission statement and thesis for the brand formulation is no artificials, nothing sound artificials, and then the least amount of ingredients as possible. Because I grew up with like a really good cook. My mom's a fantastic cook, and good food doesn't need a bunch of crap in it, for lack of a better way to say it.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, let's keep this minimal, and then I wanted to make it affordable for the American consumer, not cheap, but not overpriced. And I think a lot of that consumer perception was built into me by my ancestors are German immigrants, so they're super
Mm-hmm.
frugal. I was like, okay, here is where everything meets, and that was, and for lack of a better way to place it, is the business plan and thesis statement for Levels. And that's kind of some of the small details of all the larger details that went into like the launch,
Mm-hmm.
and then it went from there.
And then it went from there. It's funny. So you're using protein. So you're back in 2016. You're using protein. You observe, natural, organic as a macro trend is going to eventually permeate the supplements category. What were those initial steps where you tested your thesis? Like you put together, you articulated, how you want to wake up this sleepy category. But what were some of those initial steps to again prove that there was a there there?
Yeah. Well, I took what they call the MVP approach or minimal viable product, which is like a Silicon Valley approach to building software and tech products,
Hmm.
and applied that to consumer goods. So I actually made the product, but with the least amount of investment possible. I think total upfront investment was maybe like 10 grand at launch, and I launched that digitally on Amazon as well as our website. And
Hmm.
the approach was one to see if there's product market fit. Well, is there any consumers out there that want this? And if there are, then what are the things they do and don't like at the launch? And am I able to survive enough likes versus dislikes to continue on? And that was the approach. We did that, and we found through consumer feedback we had this we originally put like a bag in the box. Cereal is called bag in the box packaging for layman's terms.
Hmm.
We're like, oh, we're going to put protein in a bag and then in a box. That'll be differentiated. It was like customers didn't really care about that. They wanted the tried and true plastic tub, and then we're like, okay, so we fixed that. And then we had these weird flavors. We had our original flavors like vanilla and chocolate, but we
Hmm.
also thought we'd be differentiated by making unique flavors that included fruit and vegetable powder. So we had like an orange pineapple carrot. It was almost like, how would a healthy smoothie shop, make a smoothie and then try
Hmm.
to make it into a powder? And there were some people who liked it, but not enough. We're like, we don't want this weird pineapple beet carrot thing.
Hmm.
So we fixed that, and then we found like where our price point should have been. Like we wanted to be perceived quality at the price point where the leaders were. So you look at the leaders in the category, even though we're one of them now. It's like, okay, I want our price point to, because of these companies spend billions of dollars on research and price points. They know where the general American consumer is willing to pay, and so I want to be right in parity with them almost. And then when someone looks at their artificial product and then looks at my natural product, like, wow,
Hmm.
I can get natural for almost the same price. There's just a higher perceived value there. And that was some of the pricing methodology that we found out in the beginning. And those were sort of the initial steps to, the MVP launch of levels. And then we just built brick by brick from there. And we always iterate now today. Like if we see consistent feedback, you're not going to please everybody, but if we see a consistent pattern in feedback, we work
Hmm.
to adjust product or whatever we're doing in business to address that feedback.
That is amazing. And we'll get to you speaking directly to consumers in just a second. But for the folks who are listening to this and they want to build, let's say, a CPG company that may have some regulatory implication, how do you speak to like, hey, you like when you're putting together a product, that's making quote unquote claims, like what do you have in place to preempt any sort of questioning that what you're promoting on pack is actually passable?
Well, back then, I mean, now with like ChatGPT, you could like probably load your label in and it'll tell you everything that's risky, which is
Hmm.
amazing. So huge tool like advantage today versus what I had back in the day. I did a lot of research. I read a lot of like FDA manuals, looked at leaders and what they were doing on their packaging. At the beginning, I didn't really have FDA attorneys. Clearly, I do now. But the main thing I was doing was looking at, we weren't going to make scientific claims are the ones that really get you in trouble.
Hmm.
So like if I'm claiming my product has 0 grams of sugar and it really does on the back, like that's an easy claim. Like
Hmm.
it's the truth. But to say this product does this, that, and this for your body, you get yourself into some trouble there. There's also some key differences between SFPs and NFPs. So our product is an NFP product, which is a nutrition facts panel product.
Hmm.
If you look at supplements, most supplements have an SFP on the back or a supplements fact panel. Nutrition fact panels have different rules and regulations around them versus supplement fact panels, and then what you can be said on your product.
Hmm.
And most food products are nutrition fact products, and whey protein is actually food products. So we actually went that route. That's one thing. It allowed us to not have to deal with the sort of the same type of regulatory burdens that supplement fact panel products do. But I would say anybody starting is like keep your claims like very factual and truthful and not overly scientific and like they're going to cure cancer or some crazy
Hmm.
performance based thing unless that claim is well researched and substantiated and has a longevity of research behind it. Uh, for example, whey protein helps like build lean muscle mass and helps recovery, especially when it's paired with resistance exercise. It can help build lean muscle mass. That is
Hmm.
a well substantiated, well researched claim. You know, those types of claims, there's plenty of science out there that can back it up. Now, the science exists. You need to also create internal substantiation documents that takes that science and you footnote it out and you have your own policy documents on it.
Hmm.
But so you need to do things like that. ChatGPT will definitely help you today, at least figure out what you need to be writing substantiation documents for. But I would try to keep it as close as possible to not make any outlandish claims. And if you can afford it, definitely retain an attorney in label law and
Hmm.
label review. That would be something I would do early on instead of winging it, especially if your product is leans towards more of the extremes in
Right.
supplements.
And then, again, as you scaled, again, you've hired, an attorney that's versed in FDA regulation. Looking back, it's 2025. You started in 2016. What are some things that you look back upon that you're fond of that you did and you wish you continued, or you wish you continued do or doing? And what is something or like a topic, being a founder of a supplement company or brand that you wish people would ask you more about?
Uh, Something I'm fond of is probably our frugal and scrappy nature. Sometimes it can be constraining, but it is probably the most fundamental core attribute of a company and our success is that we are really good at quantifying financial risk and making financially sound decisions. And that has to do a lot with the fact is like it's founder run and we've never raised venture money or private equity. So like
Hmm.
the reality is like if I spend money, it's my money or the company's money, and so we're all like very frugal about that. It's not someone else's money. And when you have resources that is someone else's, comes from someone else, you're much more liberal in the way you make decisions. You know, it's a tried and true fiscal, I guess, fiscal discipline.
Hmm.
So we're really fond of that, and that is probably the most important thing. I think to answer your second part of the question is that people ask me more is probably like the truth about building a business.
Hmm.
A lot of folks have like this misconstrued idea of what it's like, and it's mostly exacerbated by social media. That it's quick and overnight, and I don't want to say easy, but like it almost feels like it's just like yeah, like you just do something, and it's like jackpot, and it's really not. It's it takes an immense amount of resiliency, pain, and suffering. It takes, for most people, sometimes it happens overnight for people. That's like luck. That's like winning the lottery. But most folks that have built established businesses, it's decades. I mean, Nvidia started in the 1980s, and like it's just now in the last couple of years. They've been doing great for years, but it's now
Hmm.
they're the biggest company in the world. And so I think I wish more folks would ask like what's the truth, like what's it like on the other side of the grass,
Hmm.
because it's a lot more painful and there's reward to that, right? Like there's risk reward to everything. Through pain and suffering
Yeah,
is great reward,
sure.
but I think understanding like it's much more complex and multifaceted and nuanced than it seems to be, at least in social media, for sure.
And speaking to that, are you coaching other founders? Are other founders coming to you for advice?
No, no, but also I'm not like I'm too busy working, so I don't know if I can't even
Yeah.
give advice. Young college kids always ask me for advice, and I try to my best to give them the advice I can, but I don't do it for other founders. And those young folks, I just basically say like kind of give them some of the stuff we're talking about right now. But most of it is like you got to find something where there's a strong market where you can make money. It can't be super niche where you can't make money, and then you just got to do and learn from it and make mistakes and start small and
Hmm.
just say, I'm going to start really small and then build over a long time. Most of my time is like mentoring like my team, like, and vice versa. They like teach me plenty of things of areas that I don't know about, but I try to like mentor them in the mind of a founder entrepreneur, and then how I make the decisions I make and maybe things around being organized and self discipline and and maybe like those fundamental things that I hold as truths to being successful in doing this. That's probably the most mentoring I do is just like helping my team.
And then, speaking to mentoring your team, when we first spoke and got connected, I would think, and correct me if I'm wrong, like 9 out of 10 people who see a category that's sleepy, that it's stuffy, that it's monotonous, I would be like, okay, you just accept it for what it is. But you are obsessive or obsessed over the fact that there's an opportunity here. Like, how does that obsession translate, or how do you convey that obsession to your team?
Yeah. Oh, by the way, there's so many categories that I like. If I wasn't running this, there's
Yeah.
so many categories that are sleepy. And I'm like, ooh, that would be a good one right there. But unfortunately, like I'm not a serial entrepreneur. I'm focused on what we do,
Yes.
which is a fortunate thing.
As you build the brand and Levels Protein, I imagine there's a correlated impact on bringing more consumers into the category. What I'm saying is, like, your obsession over the category, over the product, how is that conveyed? How is that articulated and passed? And how does it pervade the team? Because I imagine you were saying, like, it's a give and take. It's not like you're dictating. You're getting feedback and people are giving you ideas.
Yeah. Most of my skill set is, I would say, not category specific. I would say it's American consumer specific. So I think about the American shopper and the American consumer and how they think and how they feel and how they react and like really like try to, I'm like, man, if I saw this in this way, like how would I do? How would I as a consumer react? Would this price point be like too high for me to trial it? And then when it comes to creative things, I'm always wondering, is this bizarre enough to capture the attention of today's consumer? Because we're also, you know, ADD'd out from social media. And then
Hmm.
is it too far where it's like this is too bizarre? Like people are gonna be like, this company is like some mental issues or whatever. But my creative team, they are the ones who I spend a lot of time with
Hmm.
marketing creative because I'm a product sort of visionary type founder and we're working on some really amazing marketing campaigns for next year that are totally differentiated and I'm spending time with them and they give me feedback on detailed creative things like, well, if we said it this way, this is more appropriate for the brand
Hmm.
world. It doesn't fit in. I'm like, oh yeah, yeah. So I spend my time on consumer thinking, but the rest of my team, they are maniacal in like taking my vision and then making sure it stays within guardrails and frameworks and refining it to be like, yeah, that's a good idea, but it went a little too like, psychotic. So let's like bring it to here. And you're like, yeah, that's actually better. So it's kind of a push pull depending on which business unit I'm in. Like some leaders in the business units need more of me to like push,
Hmm.
but there's other parts of the business units where I'm like pulling information. I'm like, listen, I'm just here. You need me at this meeting. I'm here to sit in and talk when you need me to talk. I'll do nothing because you know more than me. You know,
Hmm.
you're the expert. So that's how we kind of function.
No, no, that's great. It's great insight. So, like, I imagine, like, Mike at Liquid Death, he, yes, he's a creative guy by trade, but I imagine some of those ideas, because he's in the room, the team around him, again, this is all conjecture, feels empowered, feels pushed to come up with really unique, ownable, creative ideas that are aligned with the vision of Liquid Death. My assumption is, like, if you were removed from that conversation, from that configuration between you and the creative team, would they be as pushed? Because you're so, again, that obsession, that, yes, of the American
Mm.
consumer is so real and so tangible and so palpable that they feel compelled to, like, really push it to, again, to those guardrails.
Maybe not. I think when you have a company, and at least from I've seen from other organizations, when it's founder led,
Hmm.
that the CEO is the actual visionary and founder, they are critical to like vision and people
Hmm.
getting excited. And they're critical in uniting everyone around a common vision. And then those folks who have these amazing skill sets and then take that vision and make it what it's supposed to be. So I would say probably be a lot more difficult if I wasn't in the room, but once I give that vision, like
Hmm.
it snowballs into something really exciting. Also, it depends on how established the vision is and what you're building. You know, if you look at Apple, like what the vision that Steve Jobs had invested into that brand like lived on, and so they kind of know would Steve do this, or would this be the vision of Apple? And
Hmm.
so I think once there's a historical visionary base there, it's easier to the founder to no longer be involved. But I would say the best organizations seem to always have like the founder still somehow in them and running them. If you really look at it like for like in the real world, not
Yes.
textbook theory,
Yep.
it's usually the ones that have like founders, even if the founder is not the CEO, but the founder is highly involved in the nuts and bolts,
Hmm.
they seem to be very successful organizations.
Yeah, well, I had one of my first guests was Craig Dubitsky at Hello Products, now Happy Coffee. He was a founder. I'm pretty sure Hello Products, once it got to a certain maturity level, hired a CEO as outside. But again, he was the evangelist. Like he was the one who was going around to the conferences and talking about the product and like what you were talking about, the granularity of the mint that's in the toothpaste. Like I went to the fields in the Pacific Northwest to actually feel and select the mint, which again, it goes back to founder obsession. Cause like I was listening to a conversation you had with Kara Golden about the vacuum seal on one of the canisters.
Mm, mhm.
Can you talk to us about that? Cause I thought that was fascinating.
Yeah. So consumer experience is everything you do. It's customer service, it's the taste, the price. Like experience doesn't stop at the product. So I look at experience overall. You've had plenty of times probably where you like call the cable company and you're like, oh my God, like it just, it's like they make, okay, I'll give you an example there. Like they make you put in your phone number, then you talk to the robot to confirm your information. Then it's like you press five numbers and then finally you get to a human and then they make you reconfirm all the information. You just like, why even put the robot there? If you're making me do it again? Terrible experience. Like that is frustrating. Customers want to answer and want to answer quick. We take a totally different approach here. So when it comes to that, a lot of supplements, not only just whey, but pre-workouts, whatever else, they're induction seals. An induction seal goes through like a magnet, and that magnet heats it so that it seals to the bottle. Um, and most of them are paperback. And when you punch through them, paper sits around the rim. Like it's fine. It's like it just looks messy and tacky and gross. And I wanted to put like as if you ever open like orange juice, when you peel off the induction seal, it's
Hmm.
cleanly comes off. There's no paper or anything.
Hmm.
So I wanted it. I wanted an easy peel seal, and I went out. I was like looking at competitors, see if anybody had one. I found one that had it. I didn't know who made it for them, and then I messaged the company who makes our lids now, and I was like, "Hey, can you do a liner?" And they're like, they sent me a video, like, "Yeah, we can do easy peel," and it was my competitors. It was a video of my competitor's lid
Oh
and
my
their easy.
God.
I was like, "Oh yeah, okay, so they make the one I like," um, and so they're one of our major suppliers, but I wanted a clean peel. I didn't want to leave any remnants around the lid
Hmm.
because I felt as a consumer like it was a bad experience. Could I live with it? Yeah. Is it the most desirable? No. And there's like certain consumer experiences we can't solve. I'll give you an example. This is a tried and true experience. Everyone in protein who buys protein hates it. The scoop shifts down in the powder, like it
Yes.
it gets lost during ship. Okay,
Yes.
so if you put a bottle in a shipping box, it's being moved around like this. So think of the sand, it gets lost. It is not economically viable to keep the scoop in the lid, or it just isn't. Like you have to, and the way these our plants are automated, like the scoop being dropped in is just the way. There is
Right.
no good solution at this point. And it's like the
Hmm.
one thing I wish I could fix, but I can't because it doesn't work out. It just can't work out. So there's other consumer experiences we can't solve for yet that are economically viable, and as well as like a good enough experience where the customer will appreciate it.
Interesting. So what was the feedback loop once you got that clean induction seal adhered to the canisters?
It was subtle, like it wasn't a huge complaint from people, but it's a known complaint. So no one mentioned the brand new induction seal, but we saw no more complaints about the paper being stuck around the
Hmm.
lid. Another example is of what we wanted to do is like, okay, so that paper, when you punch through it or rip it open, sometimes there's little pieces of the paper that are still stuck. And then, like, the next day, that piece of paper falls into the powder.
Yeah.
And a customer will say, "Oh, there was paper in my powder." And be like, well, it's not possible because the screens that it goes, like, the powder sifts through, it's like, it's at a level that, like, nothing could get through.
Hmm.
but we can't say that to them. Like, you can't argue with the customer. And so,
Right.
like, we've reduced, like, say, returns by taking off the paper because a little piece of paper no longer gets into the powder because a customer, didn't pull all pieces of paper off the list. So there's all these things that add up.
Right. Yeah, no, it absolutely does add up. But what you said, and I want to make sure, the audience hears this, is that what the consumer wants. So you're making these decisions by putting yourself in the shoes of the consumer. Again, I wouldn't say it's remarkable. I think it needs to be mandatory, right? Because I imagine a lot of the decision making that you and your team are doing sounds like a great idea, but does the consumer really want this, or are we just speaking in an echo chamber? So like, so yeah, go ahead.
No, yeah, that's all we think about. Like, if someone brings up competition on our team,
Hmm.
it's like, oh, that's good to know, but we're not really focused on what competitors do. It's business intelligence. Be like, oh, this competitor is now at this retailer. Like, okay, that's cool. Um, but like, you win with the customer, not competing against other brands.
Hmm.
Now, it's like I said, it's business intelligence. It might help you make a better decision on something else you're doing. But I mean, we think about all of that. It is the it is the most critical. We don't every time, even if it's a piece of an email that goes out, we're like, how would the customer read this? Like, does it sound like someone who can't write it, or does it flow well, or does it? We're
Hmm.
thinking about like, hey, the hardest thing is when you're really close to the work or the product, you build this assumptive state where you've read it so many times that, like, oh yeah, that's how it sounds. A lot of times I push my team to say, like, you just got, say, for example, this email for the first time, you've never seen it. How does it feel to you? How does it read? Because you've built a bias because you've designed it over the last 3 weeks and so forth. You know how you think you know how it reads. But how do the customers see it? Because they've never seen it before. Like, how do they feel about it?
Hmm.
So we do things like that. It is all customer. It is just everything's just if a flavor doesn't taste good enough, I'm like, this isn't good enough to send out to customer. Like, it's got to be a home run. It's not right. Like, we can't. This isn't about money.
Yeah.
It's about like making a good product.
Right. Right.
So it's probably just second nature, Eric. It's just something we do. We don't do it for us. We do it for the consumer, really.
You do it for the consumer, and you gave some idea of the consistency because you mentioned email, you mentioned customer service. Like, how do you again push that consistency? So whether I'm talking to Levels Protein via its website or on social media, how do I know as a consumer that again has that consistent look and feel of the brand?
Well, look and feel consistency is probably the hardest thing for us. That's a great question. No, I would call that like brand and marketing. And that's something where we are really focused right now. We are maniacally focused on making sure that since we are such a large whey protein brand now, that we're consistently showing up for customers and look and feel and tone. But I will say, if you read a lot of reviews, like from a customer service standpoint, like customers continuously, there's some folks that are not happy with our service, and it could be that something went wrong. But the majority of the reviews, you'll see, like, I love how fast customer service, like, they got back to me within a day and they replaced my product, and they write about it in their reviews. And that's what you want,
Mm,
is beyond them reviewing the flavor and the price. They're like,
hmm.
oh, customer service, I had this issue and that I fixed it immediately. And when other customers are reviewing that, they find that to like really create trust. Like, if I have a problem here, like, someone's going to take care of it for me. That's even like our emails. Black Friday, it's really backed up, and our emails are like it's super, like, we're really blunt. We're like, hey, we got your email. Rest assured, we're gonna take care of it. Like 100%. This is not a robot. We just are getting through tickets, but we'll take care of it.
Wow, that is remarkable. And in terms of like reviews and customer service, like when was the last time you as a founder spoke to a consumer?
When's the last time I spoke? Well, there was this lady. There's a couple of folks that like call us consistently, where
Interesting.
they'll just yeah, they'll call us and ask us questions, and we'll take those calls as a way to like not only chat, but like get customer feedback. So it'll be here and there. I just don't do it as much as I used to. But back in the day, we had like people who would message or call and say, like, is Blake there? Because I did the customer
Wow.
service. Yeah. But now I'm like, I can't do it. So I'm like, COO will take calls with people, we'll take random calls. Or even like our retailers will have like a customer that's incessantly like messaging them, and they'll be like, hey, could you talk to this? gentleman for us, and they're like,
Hmm.
yeah, we'll give him a call. So we do it, but most of our interaction comes through like email tickets or reviews.
Gotcha. And then, shifting gears. So you have a DTC business. So if you go to Levels Protein's website, you can buy the product. Amazon. You
Mm.
mentioned Costco. Um, other. What are some other brick and mortar retailers where consumers can find Levels Protein?
Yeah, so Amazon, our website, levelsprotein.com, Costco, Walmart, Target, Kroger, regional grocers like HEB, Wegmans, Meijer. You can find us not only Costco.com, but a few Costco regions, the Texas region and
Hmm.
the LA region. You can find us in stores. You can find us in a whole bunch of select natural stores across the United States, Bristol Farms, Rayleigh's. There's about Today, we're in about 10,000 points of distribution physical. So you can basically get us anywhere in any flavor and any size format you prefer.
And how many active SKUs?
In our whey protein, we have maybe like 27 SKUs in just whey. And
Hmm.
we're really focused on our whey. We have a few ancillary products, but we're focused on our whey protein powder. So within whey, a ready to mix whey, that is quite a lot. We have different size formats for different retailers.
Hmm.
We have our tried and true formats. We have more and more. We're actually releasing a lot of our flavors in sachets now for trial. We have some TikTok exclusive formats coming out for TikTok Shop over the next 6 months too.
Hmm.
So some really cool stuff coming. And then as we probably take the next steps in growth of this company over the next year or two, we'll start to be thinking about like what adjacent category makes the most sense for us for our next product.
Excellent. And then in terms of like, you mentioned some TikTok specific, SKUs or UPCs and sachets for sampling and, and trial. What other product enhancements or innovations that you can discuss are you really excited about that are going to launch in 2026?
Well, one reason that it's not an enhancement so much, but it's a certification is all of our whey protein is certified by the Clean Label Project, which is one of the emerging certification organizations in testing for heavy metals, plasticizers, and so forth. So that's more recent and it's coming out on a lot of our packaging. You'll see that certification. With regards to our whey line, we have like some seasonal flavors that I can't divulge right now that will be in select retailers as well as our website. And then Levels, for all intents and purposes, is a dairy protein brand. And so, well, I can't kind of tell you what like the next big thing looks like. Is we're going towards what other dairy proteins and other products that are in dairy protein, rather than going towards like greens or creatines or pre
Hmm.
workouts. So our flagship sits in the sports nutrition category, but our brand DNA is dairy protein.
Dairy protein. Gotcha. Okay. Excellent. And then, part of, the big, so the mission, if you were to boil down of Levels Protein, it's, a great tasting product that's transparent. What else, what other attributes, again, in your elevator pitch you would give?
Sure. It's transparent whey protein that tastes great and is affordable. Like that's our 3 word pitch. And that's at the core level of what our claim to fame is that. And I think if you look at a lot of natural whey protein powders, they don't hit all 3 of those marks. They might hit like 2 of them. And the key part being affordable, because our whole goal is to listen. CPG is like a what they call like a pennies business. You take dollars to the bank, not percentages, and it's all about volume and distribution. And so the way we look at it is like, one, we should be able to like access food at a decent price point in the country, but also like that just helps us as well. Like if we're unobtainable to a certain portion of the American consumer, that just it slows velocities. And so we want to make our brand ubiquitous.
Hmm.
So those are the key tenets. It's transparent, clean, great tasting, and affordable.
And affordable, right? And in terms of that affordability pillar, any feedback they've gotten from consumers on that front?
Yeah, most of it is like I can't believe, like not I can't believe, but this is a great product for the price point. Like the fact that it's super clean and this is the price point. There's sometimes folks they'll be negative, like this is the price on this is high, and but then I'm like, but everything's higher, so how could this be? So I don't know, like I don't know what they're comparing it to.
Hmm.
I'm sure they have their reasons, but usually like it's a home run. Like if you look at all of our reviews on our website as well as Amazon, it's a consistent pattern of the same: clean, minimal ingredients, tastes great, affordable. Almost every review
Hmm.
says the same thing in some some way or the other. So when you see that consistency, you know you're doing it right. You know you've hit the sweet spot.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. Especially, I love now that Amazon has the AI aggregated review, so it tells you like
Mhm.
what consumers like. Again, those general themes, which is awesome. So a little bit of that legwork is gone. In terms of in terms of what was I going to say, in terms of that ethos, again, being clean and transparent, that and affordable, that's amazing. And now, over the, let's say, past 10 years, you've created a great product. So if you had to, again, start from zero again, and you had to stack rank great product, great branding, I don't know, what are some of the other mandatories? Like, how would you, to launch a brand, like, how would you stack rank, those mandatories, to build a great brand?
Yeah, I would say the most important, a lot of folks put like marketing first. It's not. Product, supply chain, and operational sophistication are the keys to success. You have to build like a foundational base, and those matter the most to succeeding and scaling.
Hmm.
So I would definitely still do that. That's where my investment really was and still is. But that part of our organization is super sophisticated because that's what my background was in. That's where I hired the most amount of people first. I would say if I you would just say what was a mistake, it was not investing earlier in brand and marketing. I would have probably invested heavier earlier with my team and building out brand and brand love than I did. Doesn't mean like we were in a bad place, but if I would say that was the one mistake, I'd be like, I should have just done that earlier. But there's a lot of things like that in the company history. I'm like, well, we probably hindsight is 2020.
Sure.
We probably could have done that earlier. But
Yeah.
at the same time, when you look at things and said like it's regret or hindsight's 2020, is like a lot of time in building this, I feel like things are meant to be like it was meant to be this way. It was like we waited this long because if we hadn't, XYZ would happen. So it's almost like destiny.
Yes.
Just everything works out for a reason, if you will. So, even some of the key hires here, I'm like, man, I hadn't found this person. Where would we be today? Like, and I can't believe that critical moment, like this person showed up, like just randomly out of the blue. Like it almost felt like it was destiny, you know. So it does feel that way sometimes on certain things.
Right. Yeah. The brand and marketing, yes, I understand. Like, you can have a great product, but if no one knows about it, it's still great. Yes, it's still a great product, but few people know about it. So, okay. Yeah, again, hindsight's 2020. But in turn, you hit on something that's very interesting too, is the people. You used we a lot during this conversation, Blake. So in terms of those key hires, like, thank goodness we hired that person. Like, what is that feedback loop to that employee or employees?
My feedback loop to
You or anyone else within the organization, because it sounds like, again, it's brand love, but it's also, like Danny Meyer said, like, if you take care of your wait staff, you're going to give a great restaurant experience. So what is, whether it's you or other senior members of your team giving that feedback, what does that look
yeah. So one thing we don't do here is hire like professional management. Like I refuse to, and I've done that, and it's always been a mistake. You know, we most of my team here is they're just the kind of like they're killers. They work really, really hard and their output levels are insane. And for that, they reap the financial reward. I make sure that we take care of our employees from a financial aspect when they are performing and we don't forget, like we notice it. And so money talks always, but
Sure.
also the team values building something unique over any sort of fringe benefit. So they're less interested in is there 8 company holidays or 10 company holidays? They're more interested in like, is coming here going to be like this key moment in my career where I learned all of these crazy things? Because what you learn at a company this size and that's hyperscaling is totally different than working at like a large multinational. Like you just
Hmm.
don't get the same skill set. And then coming out of here, you'll probably be way more valuable because you've done it. You've seen the nuts and bolts, and the nuts and bolts to someone else who really wants to find a key employee. Like that's what I look for is someone who's not a professional manager, but it's like cooked the chicken, if you
Yeah.
will. And so they look at it as like, okay. And when we're bringing folks on, you can make those commitments to them like, hey, if you're the only way is up here, And I promise you, if you show that you can crush it here, we'll take care of you. That's almost like my word. So it's
Hmm.
hard for people to trust someone's word. But if they talk to other employees, they're like, this guy does not forget. Like if my COO applied to a job for a senior project manager, he just landed here from South Africa, and he applied on ZipRecruiter, and his resume was so messed. I was like, what is up with this resume? It looks really messed up, and I hit reject. And then I like couldn't get it past me how messed up it like looked like it was glitched out, like the resume. I was like,
Mm,
what is going on with this resume? So I called the guy. His name's Jed. And the moment I talked to him, I was like, this is the guy. This is the guy. This is the guy. Like now he
yeah.
came on as senior project manager, but he was the COO within 9 months.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. And you just knew he got here. He was hungry. He was an ex-entrepreneur from South Africa. And he's like, listen, I want to work. And like, I'm here in the United States now and I want to show up and show you that like I could do this. I used to be an entrepreneur. And like right away, you knew. But like I promoted him to that level like instantaneously.
Hmm.
So the feedback loop is I don't. It's hard. It's like the proof's in the powder. Just like
Yeah.
it's like let's see what you got, and if you got it, like the only way is up.
And the only way is up, right? It's funny. Like, I think about, the entrepreneurs I've met who, I want to say step in shit twice, but who were lucky enough to have two exited companies. And the second exited company, um, they, 50% of the employees were from the first brand or first startup that the entrepreneur launched. And I'm like, huh, like, I wonder why, right? It's like, again, to your point, it's like, if you give the people the latitude, to scoop the powder, to get their hands dirty, um, and they show that, what they're worth and their contribution, yes, they're going to be compensated accordingly, but it's like, this is not the only stop on the train. It's like, what does the future hold? And again, right now you're 100% focused on Levels Protein,
No,
but
but you're right. You're right. Like every entrepreneur that I know who's done it twice, they bring the same team over with them. And we talk about that all the time. Like when we're done here, whenever that may be, like we're gonna go do something else. It'll would easily. I'd be like, I'm not gonna start from zero. I'm gonna bring these people with me.
absolutely. And I think this is a great place to stop, Blake. This is amazing. I really do appreciate, and the listeners appreciate the wisdom and insight and knowledge and perspective you provided. I'll include all the places, both online and in store, where you can pick up Levels Protein. Any parting wisdom or thoughts before we stop?
No, just embrace the suffering if you're still starting out, and tell yourself it's going to be a decade. And if you're willing to accept that and suffer and put in the work, and you're sharp and you're in a category that there's it's not niche enough where you can make money, it'll work out. It's just going to be a long time, and that's okay.
And that's okay, right? Exactly. It's about the passion. It's about the output. It's not looking for that quick hit, quick win, quick update on social media. Again, if you're true to yourself. So, Blake, again, thank you for your time.
Appreciate it. Thanks, Eric.
Thank you for joining us on this insightful journey with Blake Niemann, founder of Levels Protein. Remember, building a brand is a marathon, not a sprint. Embrace transparency, prioritize consumer experience, and let innovation guide your path. Keep iterating, learning, and staying true to your vision. If you found value in today's episode, share it with fellow entrepreneurs and subscribe for more inspiring stories. Until next time, keep pushing boundaries and making your mark.